Welcome to English Story House, a place where real lives turn into unforgettable stories. Today, we explore the journey of a man who changed cinema forever, the creator of Titanic, the visionary behind Avatar, and the filmmaker who never stopped pushing the limits of imagination. From a curious young boy with an endless fascination for science and the future, to one of the most influential directors in history. This is the story of James Cameron. James Francis Cameron was born in 1954 in a small town in Canada, and from a very early age he was never interested in fame or attention. What fascinated him were ideas, how the world worked, how technology could evolve, and how the future might look. While other children spent their time playing outside, Cameron spent hours reading books, observing machines, and imagining worlds that did not yet exist. His mind constantly asked questions about artificial intelligence, deep oceans, and distant planets, unknowingly laying the foundation for the stories he would one day bring to life on screen. Unlike many filmmakers, James Cameron never went to film school. There was no clear roadmap guiding him toward Hollywood. He studied physics, then English, but neither path felt right, and the traditional system failed to match the scale of his imagination. Choosing uncertainty over comfort, he dropped out and moved to Los Angeles with no degree, no industry connections, and very little money. Hollywood was a place where dreams could come true, but also where countless ambitions quietly disappeared, and Cameron quickly learned that no one was waiting to open doors for him. To survive, he became a truck driver, spending his days driving massive vehicles across long, empty roads, and his nights writing stories fueled by science fiction, action, and futuristic ideas. He lived exhausted, invisible, and financially unstable. But during those years, something powerful was happening. Every night he trained his imagination, sharpening his ability to visualize scenes, worlds, and characters with extraordinary detail. He wasn't just writing stories, he was preparing himself for a future he refused to give up on. One night, after watching Star Wars, James Cameron had a vivid dream of a metal skeleton sent from the future, cold, relentless, and unstoppable. He woke up shaken but inspired, and that dream became the seed for the Terminator. At the time, it was just an idea written by a truck driver no one believed in, but Cameron held on to it with absolute conviction. When he finally got his first opportunity to direct a film, it ended in failure. The project collapsed, he was fired, and he was left humiliated. For many people, that moment would have marked the end of the journey, but Cameron responded differently. Instead of quitting, he studied obsessively, learning every role on a film set, from visual effects to cinematography and editing. Failure didn't discourage him, it sharpened him, teaching him lessons no classroom ever could. When he sold the script for The Terminator, Cameron made a decision that shocked everyone. He sold it for $1, not for money, but for control, because he believed that if he was going to fail, he would fail on his own terms. The budget was small, the pressure was enormous, and the schedule was brutal, but Cameron trusted his vision completely. When The Terminator was released in 1984, everything changed. The film became a massive success. Audiences loved it, critics praised it, and Hollywood finally paid attention. James Cameron was no longer a truck driver. He was a director. But success brought new fears, including the fear of losing creative control, the fear of compromise, and the fear of becoming ordinary. Those fears shaped him into a demanding perfectionist, known on set for pushing both people and technology beyond their limits. Cameron didn't want to be liked. He wanted to be remembered, believing deeply that easy films are quickly forgotten. After establishing himself as one of Hollywood's most demanding and visionary directors, James Cameron set his sights on a project that many believed would end his career. Titanic was not just a film, it was a gamble of historic proportions. The budget grew uncontrollably, the schedule collapsed, and the media labeled it a disaster before it was even finished. Cameron invested his own salary to complete the film, driven by an unshakable belief that the story mattered more than the risk. When Titanic was finally released, it shattered every expectation. The film became the highest-grossing movie of its time and won 11 Academy Awards, transforming Cameron from a successful director into a global legend. Yet even after conquering Hollywood, he felt something was missing, a story he could not yet tell because the technology simply did not exist. That story lived in his imagination for years, waiting patiently. Cameron envisioned an alien world filled with life, emotion, and environmental meaning, but he refused to compromise his vision. Instead of rushing into production, he chose to wait, allowing technology to catch up to his ideas. While the world moved on, Cameron quietly worked behind the scenes, developing new tools, advancing motion capture systems, and pushing digital filmmaking further than anyone before him. To many, it seemed like he had disappeared, but in reality, he was preparing for his most ambitious creation. When Avatar was finally released, it was not just a movie, but an experience. Cameron introduced audiences to Pandora, a living world that felt real, emotional, and immersive in ways cinema had never achieved. The film became a cultural phenomenon, breaking box office records and once again making Cameron the highest-grossing filmmaker in history. More importantly, Avatar reflected something deeply personal about him, a growing awareness of humanity's relationship with nature, technology, and responsibility. It was not simply a spectacle, it was a message shaped by decades of experience, obsession, and reflection. Through Titanic and Avatar, James Cameron proved that patience can be as powerful as ambition. He showed that true vision is not about speed or convenience, but about refusing to compromise, even when the world tells you to move on. From the depths of the ocean to distant alien worlds, Cameron continued to push himself, his technology, and his audience toward something greater, reminding us that the most extraordinary stories are often born from those willing to wait for the future to arrive. As his career grew, so did the personal cost. James Cameron's love life followed the same intense pattern as his work. He was married 5 times, not because he lacked love, but because his ambition often demanded more than relationships could give. In his early years, his personal life existed in the shadow of long hours, constant pressure, and a creative drive that rarely slowed down. His marriage to filmmaker Kathryn Bigelow was built on mutual respect between 2 strong creative minds, and although it ended, it did so without bitterness. Years later, when Bigelow won an Academy Award, Cameron openly applauded her success, showing admiration rather than rivalry. He later married Linda Hamilton, the actress who became the face of The Terminator. Their relationship was deeply emotional and closely connected to their creative collaboration, and they had a daughter together. However, the same intensity that fueled their professional success also created distance, and once again, Cameron's work often came first. Over time, he admitted that he was not always present as a father, recognizing that years-long film productions pulled him away from family life. Everything shifted when he married Susie Amos in 2000. With her, Cameron found stability and a quieter sense of balance. Together, they built a family, shared values centered on environmental responsibility and sustainability, and chose a life less consumed by Hollywood's chaos. For the first time, James Cameron was not only building extraordinary worlds on screen, but also building one at home. Looking back, Cameron has openly acknowledged that perfection comes at a price and that he was not always easy to love. Yet with time, success, and self-reflection, he learned that achievement alone is not enough. Behind the awards, the records, and the revolutionary films, James Cameron remains human, still learning, still evolving, and still searching for balance between an unstoppable vision and the people who matter most. Thank you for listening to English Storyhouse. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe to our channel so you never miss an inspiring tale. And don't forget to share it with your friends and family because great stories are meant to be shared. See you in the next story.